everyone, this is Friedel Haguraja Raven. I'm here with my recap and review of X-Men Red issue number 10, and when I tell you I was disappointed as a Storm fan, like the fact that they overhyped this Storm versus Vulcan match way too much, and then we ended up getting the conclusion to that said match in a single issue that also had to deal with the Cable thing and the Abigail Brand thing, and yeah, it was just disappointing. It was disappointing. Anyway, let's go over it. So this is the cover with everyone on it. Frenzy isn't in the issue, even though she's here. This is the back, the M&M's ad. So yeah, we have an ad for an upcoming comic book called, not an upcoming comic book, an upcoming issue of The Amazing Spider-Man with a new arc called To Kill a Cat. So this is a poem by Lodos Logos, and you know what? Even though I read it, I should have read it more carefully, because there's this line, when we emerged, I should have known right there that Storm was going to do the Vulcan fight as a team, and that's disappointing. Like, when we emerged, I should have known. So, we have this amazing we have this amazing 2-page spread, which was released as one of the previews with Vulcan at the Autumn Palace, and he's like, Storm, I'm going to fight you. I am back. I have been resurrected, and I'm out of my shell. And Storm is like, before, I went easy on you, little king. Make your move. And then he just erupts. There's this huge explosion, and yeah, I don't think anyone can say that Storm is a glass cannon anymore when it comes to energy attacks. And the next page, we have the credits, we have the characters that are featured in this issue. Now, strangely enough, if you guys can go over the characters being seen here, where's Storm? Where's Storm? Storm's not here. Is she hiding somewhere where I can't see? Where's Storm? Even though this is supposed to be the big Storm versus Vulcan issue. Where's Storm? Anyway, writer L. Ewing, with art by Stefano Caselli and Jacopo Camagni, if that's how you pronounce it, with colors by Federico Bulli. And the title is basically The New Age. And then we have this panel, which is basically taking us to what Cable and everyone else is facing. And yeah, we get to see Manifold being manipulated, and Cable is like, you know what, Cora, plan B. So plan B is basically Cora amplifying Cable's powers, and yeah, Weaponless Z isn't into it, because again, she's of Araco, and she is like, you know what, helping each other? No, how could you? But Storm over at Araco is basically making everyone understand it. You know what? Mutants helping other mutants with their mutant weapons or gifts is a good thing. So we basically have Cable being amped up, and he ends up controlling the Phalanx virus, and he ends up creating this mecha suit where, you know what, compared to what Storm ended up doing in this particular issue, I think Cable had a more cooler showing, in my opinion. While that's happening, we also get to see Abigail looking at the fight going on between Storm and Vulcan, and she's like, you know what? I have a question. When I ended up scanning the Autumn Palace, it was supposed to have been empty. So how come Vulcan ended up going to the Autumn Palace and Storm was already there, and how could I not detect Storm? So it turns out that, you know what, it could be Zandra's telepathic powers, but she's like, no, I would have known if Zandra was using that. So it turns out that, yep, Roberto, because he's rich, he ended up basically paying off Abigail's agent, because that's basically who Mentallo is, right? If you pay him enough, he'll start working for you. So we get to see Abigail being confronted by Sunspot, and basically we didn't know what Abigail's been up to and how she wanted to kill Zandra to start an intergalactic war and everything. And Abigail is like, I was doing this for the bigger picture, and Zandra is like, yeah, sure, whatever helps you sleep at night, right? So it turns out that Abigail had access to Cable's body sliding power, and she just runs away. And I'm like, wow, okay, they just allowed her to run away, huh? This was another very cool scene. So with Cable keeping everyone busy, the progenitors, I think they're called progenitors, right? I could be wrong. So yeah, those three alien type progenitor beings, they end up being distracted, and that allows Manifold to be like, you know what, I guess I'm okay now. And as Weaponless Z is like, well, take us out of here. And Manifold is like, well, that's not how my powers work. I need to see the stars or a landmark or something. I need to know where I am. And that's where Lactuca comes in, Queen. She comes in and she's like, little brother, mother's child, you are my like, my kin, and Lactuca will always know where you are. So she ends up sharing the information with Manifold, and Manifold is able to use his powers to send the progenitors away. And weirdly enough, they don't necessarily kill Arbisteralis. They just leave him there and they just all run away. They should have tried to open up the orb, but then again, plot convenience, I guess, because the chapter does end on something interesting, which we'll get to in a bit, which will, of course, bring forth the sins of Sinister. What was it? Yeah, the sins of Sinister Era. So even though Abigail is able to run away, she is met by the Fisher King in her very, very secret area. So yeah, the Fisher King, he's like, Abigail, you have to answer for your crimes. Storm versus Vulcan is still going on, and Vulcan is kind of taunting Storm because he's like, you know what, you're still on the defensive. Whatever I throw at you, you're trying to protect yourself and everything, and you're going to exhaust the weather that you'll be able to control, and he's able to do that. He's like, there is none. I have stolen the sky. No throne, no crown. How can you battle the summer sun and the king of kings? What do you have left, Storm? And this is where Storm is like, the rope-a-dope. Do it now. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. That means that she's going to have help, right? And I was disappointed. I was so disappointed. So Storm is able to summon rain and thunder, and she ends up exhausting Vulcan, and she's like, Omega against Omega. My gift will always match yours. Thus, combat is decided by how we apply them. What you saw as weakness was my restraint. While you wasted yourself on pointless feats of grandeur to soothe petty insecurities, I waited for my moment to strike. And Vulcan is like, strike? With what? I left nothing but ash and fire. Where did this come from? How could you summon the rain? And I was like, you know what? This was the perfect opportunity for Ewing to really dive into Storm's godhead and her rogue Storm persona. Like, this is a very interesting question. How can Storm, an Omega level weather and energy manipulator, what can she do when there's no weather around? What then? And again, this was the perfect opportunity for her to tap into her godhead, her mystical side, to surprise Vulcan. But now, Ewing had other plans. Ewing needed to, by using his narrative, he wants everyone to realize that, you know what? Teamwork makes the dream work. And I'm like, no. Especially after you hype this fight up way too much. Like, no. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm okay with Storm asking for help because that's who she is. She's a team leader. She works to face challenges as a team. But I would actually like to see her ask for help after she had defeated Vulcan together. Because again, she's like, Omega against Omega. My gift will always match yours. Show that. Show that to me. Because before her little plan came into action, I'm trying to air quote, her little plan came to action, she was on the verge of defeat, right? Because even Vulcan was like, what the heck are you going to do now, Storm, huh? Without any weather around? But no, Storm had prep time with the help of her friends, and she was able to use Rockslide and Sabunar and Logus Lotus. And because I guess Rockslide ended up creating this underground cavern, which Sabunar ended up filling with water, and Logus Lotus ended up hiding that cavern with a layer of Mysterium. And after Vulcan was like, you know what, I took away all of the weather, Storm tapped into that because again, she had a plan, she had prep time, and I'm like, no, defeat Vulcan with your own power. And even Vulcan calls her out on this. Yeah, even Vulcan is like, you needed your team to fight me, waiting in ambush. You needed help. Are these the warriors of Arako? And Storm tries to justify that. She tries to justify it by saying, we have learned and you have learned nothing. Yeah, she has learned about teamwork and everything. And I'm like, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. Come on now. Again, I would have been okay with Storm asking for help after she had defeated Vulcan on her own. Like, she could have asked for help to she could have asked Logus to entrap him in a layer of mysterium, which he does. Like, I'm okay with that because Storm doesn't have the power to control mysterium like that. But after she had defeated Vulcan on her own, because without prep time, with how things played out, Vulcan would have defeated Storm. And you know what I would have personally liked? Even if Ewing didn't have Storm tap into her Godheat or her Rogue Storm persona, I would have liked for Storm to use her powers to cancel everything Vulcan threw at her, and then that fight should have gone into like actual fisticuffs, like physical fight. And we all know that when it comes to a physical fight, Storm would have been the victor, like easily. She would have easily defeated Vulcan in a hand-to-hand fight. But that didn't happen. What we got was something that I personally didn't like. If you liked it, good for you. I didn't. And the chapter ends with basically the reveal that Orbis Stellaris was actually Sinister, which, you know what? There was already a fan theory that Sinister's in there. And yeah, this is what will lead into the Sins of Sinister era. Yeah, this was my recap and review of X-Men Red issue number 10, and I'm disappointed. I really am. At this point, I think after Coates, I think that no other writer is really interested in diving into Storm's Godheat and her mystical side and everything. Except for that one mini story that we're supposed to get in the upcoming Scarlet Witch issue number 2, which I'm looking forward to that. But as far as Al Ewing is concerned, at this point, I have no hopes. I have no hopes from Al Ewing. I think that Al Ewing is not interested in exploring Storm as an actual character. I don't think he is. I think he's more interested in exploring other characters. And yeah, like Vulcan was explored more in these 10 issues than Storm, in my opinion. Roberto was explored more. Come on now, Roberto. Sunspot was explored more than compared to Storm. But yeah, you know what? At this point, I might not continue reading X-Men Red. I already stopped reading a whole lot of X-Men stories after that atrocity that Vita Ayala ended up giving us. When Vita had Storm break things off with Black Panther, T'Challa, in a very, very poorly written manner. And at this point, when it comes to Al Ewing writing X-Men Red, if Al Ewing isn't going to give me actual exploration of Storm's character, which includes feats, like this is a freaking comic book. When you are reading comic books, you expect characters to showcase feats. If Al Ewing isn't going to give me that, then why am I still reading this? Anyway, let me know what you thought of the issue down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later.